bad genetic stuff, you know.
Yes.
All right, so you all got that the email, hi Madge, from Mark about the changes in the CMOM application.
Yes, yes.
So exciting. So exciting.
Yes.
I heard,
Such a win-win.
yeah, I heard they needed
Such a-
another 100 mil for the inside.
Is that right?
Oh, don't we
Yeah.
all?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to broadcast now. That'll let the attendees in, just so you
Okay.
know. We're on the clock now.
Okay.
I said I didn't have any spare change.
Gotta check the sofa cushions.
I do every week. What else do I have to do?
Admire your kitchen.
Hmm.
Yeah, I can't wait till this is over. I have to have an
Kitchen
event
warming.
at my house.
We'll have a
Kitchen work.
preservation committee meeting at your place.
Well, not a meeting, but a get together.
Should have all of our meetings this way because it's much easier to read things and it's much easier to hear.
Yeah, that's good to know.
In these big, huge meeting halls, you know.
So, do we know who the presenter is for the museum, for the Historical Society?
The names?
Yeah, 'cause I have a bunch of names here in the attendees. If you guys in the attendees can hear me and you're the presenters, could you use your raise hand function to let me know who you are? Mr. Dunau and Ms. Hofer? Okay, so I'm gonna promote them to panelists so we can both see and hear them.
I got Jay on the line.
And
Hi,
let's see,
what's
where's,
up, Jay?
oh, and Ms. Morgan too?
You should go to.
What happened to Ms. Hoffer? Did I
email.
lose Ms. Hoffer?
Sent an email
there she is.
recently, yesterday.
It keeps, oh, there it is. Okay, give me
All
one
right, let me
second.
forward it to you. I'll forward it to you. Okay, bye.
Okay. And Mr. Moskowitz as well? Okay.
Jay can't find the invitation, so I'm gonna forward it to him.
He should just go to the website. No, you can't forward your invitation because you're already using it. It's unique to you. So Jay should go to the website and come in through the CB7 portal, and then I'll promote him to panelist, okay?
Okay.
Take a
Mark,
vote.
another question. I'm
Actually,
doing this on,
go ahead, go ahead, Mitch.
I'm doing this on my phone because I can't get the audio on my computer. Is it okay that I get the visual on the computer and do the rest of it on the phone? Will that mess anything up?
It will not mess anything up on our end.
Okay.
The only thing is that, Madge, you need to mute one of those two
Yeah,
devices. Okay, because otherwise you'll get an echo.
So you want me to tell Jay what?
You know what? I'll take care of it. You run the meeting. I'll do the back stuff.
Okay.
But shouldn't we have a vote on whether or not Jay gets promoted?
You're not gonna, thanks anyway, but you're not gonna get me into that one.
We have 6 of us. I know that Doug is not going to be at the meeting.
Correct.
And should I start without Jay?
Just.
Oh, there he is. There he is.
Oh, you got him? Okay, I was just sending him an email. So
He's under Michelle Parker.
Oh, Michelle,
let's
you look lovely.
Okay.
Part of the problem is
know.
every time we get these reminders, they're under a different heading. Once it's under Mark Diller, once it's under
The other day,
Manhattan
I
Community
had-
Board.
my kids, including my son, who's an engineer, my daughter who does all these business meetings, we couldn't get the Zoom going. My 11-year-old granddaughter
there you go.
That's
got
what
it
you
right
have to
on.
We all need those.
Remember when we were kids that there were ads on around Christmas time that said, so easy, even a child could do it? Well, in our generation, it's now so easily only a child could
Only
do
a
it.
child could do it. Okay, so we could get started. I think we
So
have
you
a
can hear
quorum.
me, right?
All right, let's go.
Absolutely, loud and clear.
Hey, Melissa.
Hey,
This-
Melissa.
Where's Melissa?
There she is.
Hi. So this is the June meeting of the Preservation Committee, CB7 Preservation. And my name is Michelle Parker, and I'm one of the co-chairs, and Kate Carpin is the other co-chair. We have Jay Adolph, Susan Schwartz, Madge Rosenberg, Josh Cohen, Peter Sampton as members. Melissa, are you on this committee?
No, and I just want to say that I have financial interest in this, so I'm not eligible to vote. So just putting that on the record.
Okay, but you are, but Melissa Rosenberg is a CB7 member.
Mhm.
And who else is here from CB7? But, oh, and of course, our honored esteemed chair, Mark Diller.
Yeah, known tonight as the IT guy.
Yeah, we have one application tonight from the Historical Society, a master plan to replace the windows, or most of the windows, but of course the applicant will explain that to us. Bear in mind that our committee is advisory and that our main function is to recommend or not based on the probable historical
Appropriateness.
appropriate historical evidence.
Yep.
So with that, who from the New York Historical Society is making the initially making the presentation?
Michelle, do we know who's taking minutes for us?
Oh yeah, we have to have Josh. Can you take minutes?
Hang on. I'm in a remote location, so let me locate some.
Oh, so the answer is no.
It's not
I can-
optimal.
And it's,
Okay, Madge
Yeah.
will take minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Madge.
And
And one other housekeeping thing, I noticed that there's at least one person who's phoned in. I'm not sure who that is. If you want to be recognized by raising your hand, it's *9. And if you want to unmute yourself, it's *6. Thank you.
All right, so who will be making the presentation? Somebody raised their hand, but I missed that. Mr. Moskowitz, Ms. Morgan.
Mr. Juneau, it looks like.
Yeah.
all right.
Oh,
Whoops,
we
what's
hear an
that?
echo. Roy Moskowitz, you're making the presentation?
No, I believe Scott do now.
We can't hear him.
I
And
don't
there is a
see
bit of an
him.
echo, so if somebody could
I'm gonna mute.
all but one
He's taking
device,
care
that
of
would be
it.
great.
He's got it.
Okay,
Okay.
so
Oh,
I
I
can pull up
see.
the slides whenever you're ready.
Scott, okay. All right, are we ready, Mr. Dunow?
Can't hear.
you ask him for his full name when he comes on
Sure.
and the company.
Oops.
The delights of Zoom.
He left. Oh, now he's coming back as the second Scott Dunow.
One is clearly not enough.
Is this a good time to mention I saw a bald eagle on Wednesday?
No,
Oh.
Cool.
wow, I'm so jealous. In Central Park?
No, on Staten Island. The
Oh,
Mount
really?
Loretta State Park. Actually, the Mount Loretta Unique Area is what it's called. And yes, we got pictures in frame and in focus, which is everyone's goal.
Yeah.
Wow,
work.
congratulations.
Scott, can you unmute?
Try now.
Can I just say, I just want to know who's here. Kay, Michelle, Josh, Susan, Peter, and me. Is that everybody? Plus
No.
Mark and Melissa? The committee?
All on the
Listen.
committee.
Jay,
Did you get Jay?
Yeah, you got Jay, right?
Oh, Jay is
Hey.
on. Okay.
K and J, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. We're gonna take the roll call vote. How we
I hope
doing?
not.
I'm
Oh,
doing
and
great.
Doug is here.
Doug is
Doug
here.
Kleinman.
Hi,
Hi,
Doug.
hi, Doug.
He's not on the committee though, is he?
no,
No, but he's a Veep.
Yeah.
He's lurking.
I'm sorry. You know what I should do? I should make.
Make him a panelist.
There
I
he
did.
is.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Doug.
Hey,
Welcome to
Doug.
Times Square with a nice landmark in my.
Yes.
Beautiful.
On theme.
Can you get us an apartment in there?
What do we do now if we can't hear? What do
Yeah.
we do now?
Scott, are you trying to speak? Because it looks like you should be able to.
Mm-hmm.
He's unmuted from our end
Yeah, could be something on his device.
because he appeared in the meeting twice. Okay, there's something in chat. Is that,
No,
Let's see.
that's Doug. Okay, thank you.
we need to sign in the chat or you have us all.
Madge got it.
Okay.
Hey, Peter Arnson.
Peter's here? Great.
Peter Arnson's here?
Yes,
Did you
there he is.
Oh, Peter Sampton.
Peter
No,
Arnson.
Peter
Arnson too.
Arnson too.
Hi.
I'm
And
here.
Peter
Hey, Peter.
Arnson.
Okay.
So what,
Somebody should tell Scott to unmute.
It looks like he is.
Ooh, we almost had him.
the symbol on the screen indicates that he's muted.
Yeah, same here.
Okay, let me see. Because
Goldie.
but that's
There he
his
is.
muting. There you go. Scott, are you
We can't hear you, Scott.
and Scott, you seem to be on twice, but we can't hear you with either.
Well, coincidentally, Scott's
Something
last
about his
name
phone.
appears on all of my bills. Every single one of them.
It's a good one, Doug.
Forgive me.
Well, this might be a really short meeting.
I heard someone say that they received a bill and they were complimented by their credit card company. It said, "Your bill is outstanding."
That's right.
Yeah. I've had a few of those.
Okay. The only other thing I can suggest is that if Scott can call in using a phone and just use the online thing to see the slides, that is do you need the phone number for that, by the way? I think I can find that if that would be helpful.
Oh. All those, it says, where it says, or join by phone.
Yeah, I gotta figure out how to do that once the meeting started, but
I can give him, you have the number? I can give him the number.
It could be a setting on his own computer where he can
Likely.
turn his microphone on and off. It might be a hardware setting.
Yeah.
He needs to check his microphone. Maybe his volume's all the way down.
I did that the other day.
okay, so Mr. Dunow, I don't know if you can hear me, but maybe one of your colleagues can. I just put into chat the link to this meeting. If you follow that link, it'll return to you with a phone number as well as an email address or a URL to access the meeting. So if you can't access the meeting using this device, you can call into the meeting and lead us through the slides remotely. Actually, maybe I can do one better than that. Let me try this again. on this. No, okay.
Well, we can see him.
He's muted too.
Yeah.
It's not.
No.
By raising your thumb, Mr. Janelle, can you confirm whether you can hear us? Okay, well, that's a start.
So at least with like grandmas and Zeppelins.
Yes.
I can.
Can you check your settings and make sure your microphone is working and that the volume is up?
I can sit here and babysit it. Are you expecting them to ask you a question?
Peter Arnson, thank you. He is a panelist.
Mhm.
All right, Mr. Juneau, from my perspective, you're unmuted. So it's got to be local.
Whoops, what happened to me? Here I am.
I hate to say it, but I would recommend to Mr. Juneau that he actually go all the way out, reboot, and come back in because something funny's going
Yeah,
on.
something happened.
Or Cheryl or Margie, or Roy, if any of you wants to call Scott and then put him on speaker, maybe that would work.
That doesn't work very well, but we can try it.
Yeah, feeds back.
At this point, anything is worth a try. The problem with that, Melissa, is that you get a really weird echo when you do that.
Right. Okay.
So now he's on only one time. He was on twice.
I don't know if that's progress or.
Plan B.
Did you call him, Mark?
Can you hear me? This is
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Wow. I'm sorry about that. I've only done this 100 times.
No
And
worries.
Now I
So
need to get my computer screen linked into you. If you can wait one more moment.
I have your slides up, so I can put up the slides if you would just narrate.
Yeah, why don't we do that?
Yeah, good
Yep.
idea.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Oh, good, all right.
That is your screen?
That's my screen. So why don't you just narrate and I'll be the next slide, please, guy.
Okay. I got a message that you had disabled my sharing. So anyway, we'll move forward. All right, so this is a window master plan, which you may know about, but essentially we propose a scope of work to the Landmarks Commission that they approve. And then as the phases of work are developed, they can be approved at staff level. So once you're past this master plan approval, it makes the process much easier. So if you can go to the next, please. So just a quick run through of the building. The center portion here was built in 1908. The two flanking wings were completed in 1938. Next, please. The next four slides are views of the building today, Central Park West. Next. 77th Street. Note the windows on the first floor. About 12 years ago, we did a project that lowered those windows from clerestories down to the floor level for the cafe and the store. Of course, that was approved by the Landmarks Commission. Next. 76th Street. Next. And this is what you can see from the street on the west side of the building. To the left, there is a courtyard with windows, and then there are two light courts on the inside of the building that have windows as well. Next. So the real impetus for preparing this was an event that occurred 2 years ago in January, when the outside temperatures were 5 degrees and resulted in condensation running down the walls of galleries. And the reason this happens is that in a museum, you have to maintain 50% humidity, whereas outside, typically in winter, it's maybe 10 or 20% humidity. So we have this relatively humid environment. And then behind this wall are windows, and those windows leak. And so you have the cold air against the warm air of the museum. Margie, do you want to describe what happened here and at other times?
Sure. I'm the Vice President and Museum Director at the Historical Society. Scott is our architect with Plattmeyer Double White, just to clarify our roles. As Scott mentioned, we had one particularly serious incident 2 years ago when the weather was quite extreme, and we had a lot of condensation on gallery walls where we had original objects. We had to quickly deinstall and close the exhibition. But there have been multiple incidents over a number of years where we've had more moderate examples of this sort of problem, because as the windows fail, it becomes more and more difficult for us to maintain a constant environment in the gallery. And it is really critical, because it is our responsibility to ensure the safety and preservation of the objects in our collection, and also any objects that we borrow for exhibitions. And because one of our main missions is to present and interpret history for the general public, it's critical that we have proper gallery space to do so. So we see this window project as really essential for us to go ahead and fulfill our mission.
Next, please. Oh. Can you go back one? I think oh no, all right, go forward, sorry. So these are some of the conditions of the windows. The windows are bronze framed, single glazed. So in the winter, again, because of this high humidity, you get condensation, you get ice, you get cooling. The putty is failing. There are problems of locking the windows. Next. Issues with the hardware. There are gaps in the windows. Next. So over the years, the Society has tried a number of things here. Different types of interior storm windows, such as these. The ones on the right, you can see there's still cooling. They put felt pads on the windowsills to try and absorb the water. Next. It leads to damage to the interior finishes and mold growth. Essentially, a lot of moisture goes through the plaster and around the storm window into the plaster on the other side. Next. So the windows we're talking about are these with the red letters on them. On Central Park West, the two large upper windows and the 4 windows on the first floor. The windows in the middle we dealt with as a renovation project 10 or 12 years ago. Next. On 77th Street, it's the upper windows. Those are on the 2nd and 3rd floors. And again, the first floor windows were replaced in bronze, I will say. 12 years ago as part of that project. Next. On 76th Street, it's the upper windows, the D windows. Those are the ones that the images of the condensation were related to, and windows above the loading dock. Next. And these windows facing west. The ones in the middle are in a light court and are not visible from the street. Next. So these were a recent attempt. We put temporary storm windows on the exterior of the windows opening into that gallery as an attempt to try and stop this, the problem. Those were approved as temporary measure only. Next. So in looking at this problem, we evaluated a number of options, and it's summarized in this chart. So under replacement components, we looked at the existing windows if we repaired them. We looked at the existing windows if we installed double glazing in them. Number 2 is replacing the sashes with double glazing. Number 3 is replacing the frames, the sashes, and the glazing. So these are all trying to work with the existing window construction. Number 4 was full replacement in bronze. Number 5 was full replacement in aluminum. And 6, replacement in stainless steel. So we engaged Vidaris to do some analysis of these options with us. And as an appendix to the master plan, there's about 150 pages of their technical analysis. And probably the most important part of that is the U factor column. So U factor is a measure of the performance of the windows. The smaller the number, the better. So you can see the existing windows are 1.16 down to aluminum at 0.482. So that's a considerable improvement. The heat loss reduction is sort of as it says. The aluminum option cuts the heat loss by 61%. Lifespan, there is a difference between these various materials. On lifespan, aluminum is 30 to 40 years. And then the cost estimate for these, we went out and got pricing from various fabricators on these windows. So you can see the wide range of those numbers as well. So in the end, in order to get the performance that we're looking for, we are recommending full replacement of the windows in aluminum. Next. So they will be double glazed, thermally broken. I forgot to talk about that. Thermally broken means that the metal parts are not continuous from exterior to interior. There's a break in there that stops the transmission between exterior and interior. That's very important in terms of the performance of the windows. The surrounds, the casings around the windows, and the major mullions will be aluminum extrusion, so they will match exactly what is there now. I'll show you some of the details. Dimensionally, we're within the landmarks guidelines for that, including the daylight calculation as well. In terms of the finish, we're looking at using a Kynar type finish. It's a resin paint. The image is not very good when it comes through on a screen, but we can match the color of the existing bronze. And we're doing that on the new first floor windows that we had put in about 12 years ago. Next. And one more, please. So what we've done is we've drawn up the plans and sections of the existing windows. Next. And the existing and proposed for the section drawings as well. So by doing this, we can compare what the dimensions of the existing versus the proposed, so that we can see how close we are coming with this, as well as do the calculation for the daylight performance of them.
Double glazing?
Yes, double glaze with coatings, of course.
Yeah. It looks
So the goal of this is to have windows that from the sidewalk, you will not notice these are aluminum windows. You know, these are all either 15 feet above the sidewalk or 30 feet, depending on what facade you are on. And on Central Park West, they're all behind grills, which minimizes the visibility of them as well. So we think this is a good way of maintaining the historic character of the building. So we have in this presentation all of the window types. I don't think we need to go through all of them, but you can see the means we've used in analyzing them and getting as close as we can to the existing configuration. All right, any questions?
Any questions?
Just a quick question. I assume that if you had your druthers and without the financial consideration, you would replace them in bronze.
Yes, very much so. And you know, we started trying to keep the existing bronze where we could. In that chart I was showing you, the early ones of those were trying to work with the existing frames and mullions to see what we could do to improve the performance. But you know, you can see from the numbers here that the performance just wasn't that great. So then that's when we went to looking at options for replacement. And yes, I do preservation work and I love bronze and I would love to keep these windows. Through this analysis, it's just not feasible and isn't a good solution for the society.
Okay, thanks.
Can I ask, you had already installed interior storm windows on some windows?
Yes, there are 3 different types of interior storms that have been installed over the years. And, you know, by the photographs, you can see the poor performance of them.
So those will be removed?
Oh, yes, they will be removed and the finishes around the windows restored.
Okay. One of the other differences between the aluminum and the bronze is the number of years that they will remain viable. And the aluminum looks like it has a shorter lifespan than bronze.
Yes.
Is there a plan for, let's see, 30 years from now? When we all want to be alive.
Oh, yes. I'm looking at the windows.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that in discussions with the society, they recognize, you know, that is an issue for them. But with the cost factor is the one that really helped make them, cost and performance helped make them choose the aluminum. And it's also an issue with local law 97, if you're familiar with, which is about the energy performance of buildings.
Mm-hmm.
And there are upgrades going to be needed for that as well. So making this change to the aluminum windows will go a long way in assisting them in being compliant with those regulations.
Okay.
I think it's a reasonable decision.
Yeah.
Mark, you had a...
Agree.
Thanks. I just noticed that the chart for stainless steel didn't have a U factor, and there was a footnote about maintenance. Stainless steel strikes me as a somewhat more familiar material to use for these kinds of monumental windows on Central Park West in general. I know it's mostly residential that I'm referring to. I'm just wondering why that was rejected without the it also seemed to be cheaper, although there's a footnote about maintenance. So I was just wondering if you could speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, essentially talking to the manufacturer of those windows, they would have to come in every 2 years and refinish them, which would be expensive and just really not viable for an institutional building of this type. We love the idea of the stainless steel for the reasons you said, starting out, and then we met with them and they told us that. And frankly, we didn't go any further with that option.
Fair enough. Thanks.
How long of a project is this?
The construction will be probably about 9 months. We're talking about doing it in 2 phases, so we wouldn't be impacting, you know, all 3 sidewalks at the same time. We want to do the South and Central Park West together because those open into a gallery suite. So we want to get that done with quickly. And then the north side on 77th Street would probably be a second phase.
So they're installed from the exterior.
Yes, they are.
So the museum will be open the whole time?
It can be, yes. We have to work out a program of gallery closures or some sort of protection. That's the biggest impact of this, as well as office relocations. A lot of these on the upper floors are into office suites or like the prints and photographs department and such. So there are a lot of internal
Will it
relocations.
require scaffolding?
Yes, it will from the exterior. It's a relatively quick process to do.
No lips to God's ears? Is that what you-
Yeah, it's true.
So Susan has her hand up, and then Mark also.
So assuming there's ever a Macy's Day Parade again, and assuming Macy's is still in business, blah, 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 will this impact the Macy's Day Parade at all? You'll work the timing around that?
Yeah, we
couldn't
would
hurt
certainly
it, but-
consider that because that's a big day for the society as well. So we haven't gotten that far, but that's a very valid point we need to consider.
Good point.
Did you put viewing seats on the sidewalk bridge?
There you go.
Sounds like it.
And will Abraham Lincoln be moved someplace safe? He won't be hurt in this process? He's already been through enough?
Yes,
And
he
then
will
who-
I would either be protected or removed.
Okay.
Same as Frederick Douglass, yeah.
Yes, excuse me, both of them, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Frederick
Love the
Douglass?
museum.
Oh,
As,
Great.
as well as I hope the nice sign for Mr. Gilder. So if I could put up this slide for just a second. So am I correct that the image on the left is the color that we would expect in the final product, and the image on the right is what it currently looks like?
Correct, that's
And-
right.
And what does your okay, great. So I can now go back to
The RAL 7022 is a color designation.
now, is that painted on, or is that integral to the manufacture of the aluminum?
Integral to the manufacture.
So
But
we
one
wouldn't
of the
expect
nice-
it to chip and strain and get
Nasty.
One of the nice things about that kind of finish is that it can be touched up as compared to if it was the anodized finish. If that gets damaged, it's very difficult to do any repair with. So
right. We see a lot of the anodized aluminum in residential applications to the extent. So I'm just curious that obviously you want this to look as wonderful in 30 years as it will in year 2.
yeah, and it comes with a 20-year warranty, which is a nice thing on it as compared to an anodized finish as
Wow,
well.
20 years, wow.
Yeah,
Are you painting the window frames of Storico and Parliament to match?
no,
this?
those are the windows that were done 12 years ago.
Uh-huh, 12 years
So
ago.
no, those would not be.
Okay, but the color of the new windows will match the Storico and Parliament windows?
Correct, that's our goal, yep.
Anybody else have any other questions? Josh, do you have a question?
Madge has her hand up.
Madge?
You're
No, we
muted.
can't hear you, boo. We can't
Try
hear
now,
you.
Madge.
Unmute yourself.
Sorry.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, the law you mentioned that you wanted to comply, that you'll be complying with as far as the heat retention and windows. You mentioned a law.
Local law 97.
Local law 90s.
Yeah,
90? Local law 90?
97.
97.
97, okay.
Did you also install the windows in the, at the ground level? The entry doors, I mean?
yes, that was part of the same project when the Storico windows were put in, that whole new stoop and new entry, yep. But the
Okay.
windows behind the flanking grills are original windows. We did not do those as part of that project.
Okay.
Doug has a question, I think.
Yeah,
Yes.
Doug and then Peter.
Peter?
It's sort of a hybrid of a question and a comment. Just thank you for such very, very clear and concise presentation. It seems really reasonable what you've come up with. With regard to Local Law 97, I'm hoping that in the installation and the heat retention that you will have some savings in energy conservation for all the right reasons, and even to help offset your capital expense in doing this. Was that factored in here? I mean, it's inherent to this, but I'm just curious I hope it's beneficial.
Yeah, that is one of the goals. I don't know, Roy, if you want to address that a bit.
Sorry, there's an ambulance passing by my house. Some of you may be aware that many cultural institutions are exempt from Local Law 97. At the present time, we are not. And so it is an issue and an area of grave concern to us that we do everything we can to minimize the amount of energy that we are using within the operations of the building. Sorry about that.
You're fine.
As long as it's not coming for you.
As far as I know. But yes, Local Law 97 it looms large for us, and issues of the costs, and as a general matter, an ability to minimize energy consumption has been something that is part of the program that we are instituting throughout the building in terms of energy usage.
What do you use to heat the building now? What kind of oil? What kind of grade oil?
We are, well, that may be yet another project, but we are currently using gas, and I think we are reducing our oil consumption as we do upgrades and renovations.
Peter,
I'm sorry. You see, you're using gas. You're
Sorry,
reducing oil. You mean you have a dual source?
That's correct.
Burner, or you
at the present time.
Thanks.
Okay, Peter.
Me?
No, Peter Arnston. Sorry.
Oh. Okay.
Try now, Peter.
Can you hear me?
There
Yeah.
you go.
Okay, thank you very much for letting me speak. I was really, this is a neat project. I was curious about the bronze windows versus the aluminum, and wondering whether it was the brakes or what was causing it to be so much more energy efficient.
According to Vidaris, bronze, it's really inherent in the two metals, bronze versus aluminum. The construction is the same. There are thermal brakes in both of them. It's really, it didn't make sense to us either, but it's something inherent in the two metals.
That's fine. I just was curious. And thank you so much for letting me speak. Thanks. Take care.
Thank you, Peter. And the other Peter? Do you have a couple more questions?
You're not talking about me, are you?
Now I'm talking about you.
Oh, no, I don't have any more questions. I think it's a reasonable solution.
We call the question?
Yeah, Jay, you want to call the question? You want to propose the?
Michelle, before you do that, let's just make sure that there's nobody else in the audience that wants to be heard.
Oh, sorry.
So if you're a participant, if you're an attendee, I see Connor from the Borough President's Office is with us. Mr. Gallagher. Okay, I have to promote Mr. Gallagher to panelist in order to let him speak, but you don't have to. I'm just trying to make sure that we, if there's anything, now's the time if you want to be heard. And I'm not hearing anything. Okay, thank you. Sorry for the interruption.
Call the question again.
Yeah, go ahead, Jay.
I would just move to approve the application as presented.
All right, all those in favor, I guess we'll take roll call. Madge, you want to do that?
Are we doing the virtual hand raise?
Why don't you just do a virtual hand raise?
Okay, so all those in favor of the resolution as is,
Committee first.
committee first.
So I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is Jay, 6 is Madge, and Michelle, can I count you?
Yes.
7. I have 7. Do you have 7?
1, 2, 3. Susan, I didn't see your vote.
Yep, she was
I raised my
Yes.
blue hand.
the blue hand.
Oh, I didn't look at the hands.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So I've got 7. I think that's everybody. Is there anybody that's, hang on. Okay. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? And anybody ineligible? Okay, so non-committee board members, that's me. I vote yes. Doug votes yes is 2. And I think that's everybody.
Yeah, I think Melissa has to
And so it's 2001 on the non-committee vote.
001.
Good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. My apologies for technical difficulties.
Don't worry about it.
This
It's gonna
one,
happen to us someday too.
and it is. It's still the shortest Zoom meeting I've had this week, so.
We're not finished though.
No, we're not. No, don't say
No, there
that.
is one more thing, right?
Is
Yeah,
there?
there's
Okay.
one more
Sorry
thing.
about
The LPC sent out a survey and gave it to BCI yesterday. I think the issue has to do with, and correct me if I'm wrong or elaborate, Mr. Diller, changes made in buildings, in building structure on the outside to accommodate the new procedures that may be required for restaurants to comply with the new Department of Health / COVID requirements.
Oh, yes.
So. Mark-
Essentially, yeah, that's exactly right. Thank you, Michelle. So the survey essentially asks us our views about what, if anything, to do to facilitate changes that are temporary in nature to landmark buildings in order to facilitate serving in the outdoor spaces as we as a board have advocated through our resolution last week. What BCI was talking about last night was to distinguish between temporary and permanent changes. So BCI, and I would recommend to you, for example, that changes in swapping out a window so you could have a service window might be one thing that could be approved, but not to remove bricks and mortar or more formal historic fabric.
Yeah, or landmarked fabric.
Correct. Obviously, this would only apply in those areas where the landmark historic districts, or I guess there are some individual landmarks that have commercial as well, but they would only apply in those situations anyway. So the question to the committee essentially is, does that make sense to you? Is there something else that you think that should be included in that survey response? And then Kay and Michelle will confer with Christian and Linda, and we will have a single response on behalf of CB7 to that survey.
I mean, I know what Jay's going to say. What does the survey look like? And that's a perfectly good question, Jay. So when I get it, I'll forward it to everybody.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, obviously. My only observation would be that there should be something in the process with LPC for eventually, God willing, if things get back to normal or close to normal, some sort of process to make sure that the temporary changes are temporary.
Or in fact, I know this is a big issue with Clary too.
Yeah, even if it's a self-certification.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Or,
Something
Doug
to-
recommended posting a bond. Didn't you say
Yeah.
that once, Doug?
Well, in in reverse, when I'm aware of violations, LPC violations on buildings, and in order to allow a building to get their permits or get their letters of no effect in another part of the building, the landlord essentially posted a bond or escrow agreement with the city of New York. It was a rather involved process, so that whatever work had to be done to cure the violation, a contractor would have to give an estimate. Let's say this is a $10,000 amount of work, and that was certified by the contractor. That $10,000 would be placed in escrow with the city, and then LPC would approve the non-LPC work. So they get a letter, well, they wouldn't approve the work, they would give it a letter of no effect so that the applicant could then go to DOB. So in reverse, I'm just saying logically, LPC wields a lot of power. And if there's temporary permission given to, let's say, swap out a window for service for a period of time, and the applicant did not then restore it, well, then there's an open violation on the building, and that building can't do any non-LPC related work because they'll, so LPC does have a lot of leverage. I don't know if it necessarily requires a bond, but that is one solution or one possible solution.
Josh, you were going to say something?
No,
Oh, I thought I saw something in your eyes.
you may have.
Okay. All right. So I think we're finished with the meeting this evening.
Okay.
Nice short meeting, good.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. This was swell. It's great
Thank
to
you
see
very much.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Stay well.
Be safe, everybody.
Stay safe,
Yeah, thank
everybody.
you so much. And thank you, Madge, for taking notes. And thank you, Susan.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kay.
Well done, everybody.
Okay.